Okay, before we get started, I'm just going to say that this video will contain spoilers for the Poppy War and for Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind, because I want to talk about how similar these two books are. At least how similar the first 215 odd pages of the Poppy War is to most of The Name of the Wind. Because really, I, when I was reading the Poppy War, that's all I could think about was The Name of the Wind in the whole time. Here's the thing, right? Both of them center around a school that both the characters want to go to prove themselves. Kvothe wants to go to the school because he's looking for answers about the Chandrian or whatever they're called, so he can figure out who killed his parents. Rin wants to go to the school. Yes, that is her name. Good job, me. Rin wants to go to the school because she wants to get away from her opium dealing aunt and uncle, mother, father, or something. They're related, but not that close. But anyway, so they both travel to this school and they get accepted to the school. But the main thing is that's so similar is that both of them, well, we'll start with this. One, both of them get in a fight on the first day of school. Rin actually gets in a fight before the first day of school. Two, both of them are banned from a major part of the curriculum, geez, because of a teacher that has a personal gripe against them. Rin gets locked out of combat class because the guy she got in a fight with in the first place is some general's son or something, and they have a tiff. Whatever. Kvothe gets kicked out of the stacks because I don't even remember why Kvothe got kicked out of the stacks. It's been such a long time, but he did get kicked out of the stacks. So Kvothe has to break into the stacks to read so he can stay ahead, and Rin practices fighting all alone all the time with scrolls she's stolen from the library. Okay, pretty simple. Then um, I should have written this list out. Gosh, I'm really stupid. I'm just going to kind of jump around. I'm not going to try and do this in any sequential order, but there's a big test to see if you keep going where you apparently, by the way it's described in both books, you stand in a big room and all the teachers are like on top of you and they ask you questions that you have to answer out loud on the spot in front of everybody. That one's pretty obvious. Both of them are immediately noticed by the funny weird teacher that teaches the class that all the other students think like, oh, that class is a joke, that class isn't real. But both of them do get taught by that class, and they realize like, oh, this class is actually real. Like Kvothe learns to name and Rin learns how to talk to the gods or whatever it is. I don't remember. Now, the main difference is really, I'm sure I had more, and I'm sure they'll come to me as I keep yapping, because yapping is all I do. But the main difference is, in Rin's case, it's a military school. And she, like, who was it? I think it was the professor of strategy had their eyes on her, and they wanted her to, like, sponsor her or whatever, until the weird, funny teacher guy was like, no, I have to train her because she's going to become super magical, which Rin does become super magical. And then the same with Kvothe. I don't even remember what class liked him. I think it was, oh yeah, it was the class where he builds things. It's Magic Woodshop, essentially, is the class where Kvothe succeeds. But then again, the weird guy who knows how to name is kind of like, no, I'm going to teach you how to name, because I don't even, like I said, it's been so long since I first read this book. I don't know the exact details, the broad strokes. I apologize, but I'm not going to read a 900-page book for a video where I just ramble. But anyway, yeah. But the main difference, also besides that, is like Rin doesn't have to worry about tuition. She passed her big test, so she just gets to hang out, and as long as she passes that test, which she does, because assumedly that's the only test she's ever going to take, considering how this book ends. But Kvothe has to constantly like scrimp and save, and he makes all that stuff in Magic Woodshop, and he goes to the local tavern the next town over to play his cool instrument. Yeah, it just, when you actually read the two and you think about it, like the beginning of Poppy War it felt like the same book to me, but like with an Asian flair, which wasn't bad. Obviously, I read Poppy War and I liked Poppy War, but it's just interesting to me how two books that are so different in tone, really, when you get down to it, you can like make a bullet point list and say like, oh, this happens in both books, this happens in both books, that happens in both books, and really the general differences are pretty minor. Like I said, like Kvothe has to make money. It's like he gets kicked out of the library instead of the combat class, like, you know, stuff like that. And I know Name of the Wind came out first, and I'm also not accusing Kwong of copying, because obviously this is like a 500 plus page book, and only the first 200 odd pages are this Name of Wind copycat, huge air quotes on copycat. But I think it just goes to show that if you're one of those people that says to themselves, I want to write, or I want to create, or I want to make a thing, you know, but all you can think about is being inspired, and you feel like, oh, you know, all the ideas have been done before, I don't want to do that because blankety blank did it better, like, I don't want to write about a chosen one, or, you know, a grand sweeping quest because this was done better by this person or that person, or no, that's stupid. And that's stupid because you're limiting yourself in a really dumb way, because society has been around for so long, thousands and thousands of years. Of course, we have run out of original ideas at this point. We are always, you know, like, you can go all the way back to the Odyssey and the Iliad and be like, oh, a war story, or like, you know, a globe-trotting adventure. Globe-trotting, you know what I mean. And say like, oh, well, I can never write one of those again, even though, like, thousands of war books get published. You know, Tom Clancy's whole library is war books. And, like, you could argue in a weird roundabout way that the Lord of the Rings is like the Odyssey, because they're both going on adventures and doing stuff. So the important thing when you create is not to think, who am I copying and who am I getting inspiration from, but it's to think, what can I take from these people that I like, and how can I put me into it? Because that's the important thing, is putting you into anything you create. Because if you just copy, yeah, that's stinky doo-doo. Nobody wants to read your Lord of the Rings fan fiction unless it's really sexy fan fiction. But if you're going to publish your Lord of the Rings fan fiction, you're probably not going to get a lot of people to read it, and you're also probably going to get sued. I don't know how litigious the Tolkien estate is these days. But essentially what I'm trying to say is inspiration is not only a good thing, it is, I'd say, almost a necessary thing. But at the same time, inspiration can only take you so far when you have to, like, let's say, I'm so bad at words, this is why you should write scripts, kids. Don't write scripts. But let's say I want to write an epic fantasy novel, a 15-volume epic fantasy novel about a guy named Pand and his friends, Hat and Jaren. And there are 3 people who are chosen by the world to make things happen around them, and then a magical witch called Miggle shows up. Like, that's just the Wheel of Time with dumber names. But, like, if I want to say, like, you know, there's these 3 destined dudes to do these things, and, you know, that's the thing. Like, Destiny, I am really talking about freaking nothing at this point, aren't I? I guess the whole point of this is, don't be afraid to create. Don't be afraid to take inspiration. And definitely never be afraid to show a little bit of, I guess, vulnerability when you write. Put a little bit of yourself, of your soul, into your writing. And even if you take heavy inspiration from something else, the uniqueness that is you will shine through. And I think that's an important thing to remember. Inspiration, very good. Yourself is also very good. Only you can create the art or the story or the short film or the funny adult parody that you want to create. You know, like, nobody else can create what you want to create, no matter how much inspiration you take from others. This was a really roundabout way of trying to put out a positive message to creators, and possibly also to myself in a roundabout way. But what I'm saying is, it's okay to be an R.F. Kuang and take a little Patrick Rothfuss along for the ride.